let's do a walkthrough of the St. Andre photography. So, it's been a little bit since you guys last saw me. I want to say my last video was like White Sands, New Mexico. And then life happened and a whole bunch of things have occurred since that time. In fact, it's been a couple years since you've actually seen a video out of me. I think the last one was, and maybe a year. I think it was 2024, the very beginning. Now, we're in 2025, and a lot of things have changed. First and foremost, I've moved. I no longer live in St. George. I actually live in the next city over in Washington. And so I'm no longer where I used to be. But the benefit to that is that I now have an office, which is a nice change for once because that desperately needed to happen. So I no longer record and do things out of my bedroom. You might hear kid sounds in the background. That's a reality of what I do. So I have my list of things to go over here today. So let's first talk about the next set of things that have happened that were kind of big. So first was move. Number two, I've actually been doing photography essentially full-time now for about a year and a half. I've been the sole breadwinner for our household, and 95% of the income has come through photography. Though there is a little bit of wiggle room earlier last year, or late last year, that was the case. But nonetheless, I am actually selling a majority of, or making the majority of my money through photography. Now, let's talk about how I feel about that. The goods, the bads, and the stuff in between. So, let's talk about the first piece. What is it like? I think the interesting thing about being a full-time landscape photographer is the absolute uncertainty of how finances will turn out. I have, on and off for most of my adult life so far, have had a regular career / income / paycheck from people. And day in and day out, I would work and I would get a bit of income. Now, I only make money when I go off and sell prints, like the ones that are over my shoulders here. You can kind of see just out of view. So, pretty much my entire existence is looking for the next dollar. So that's like the chase of the businessman. It comes with some really cool things and some really bad things. First and foremost, the really cool things that come out of this lifestyle is if I want to work, I work. If I don't, I don't. And I can always have that opportunity to just make a decision to, work or not work. The crappy part about all of this, though, is I don't get paid unless I work. And there's no like, oh, you can take a sick day and not work. If I'm sick, I just don't get paid. If I have foot surgery, I just don't get paid. Because primarily my sales come through print sales. And I do all my print sales essentially at art shows. So it comes with this really cool aspect of I control my own destiny, but at the same time, I also feel like I'm always feel like I'm living on the edge. Okay. So this is doing photography full time. Now, things that are fun about this, I do not get to go out and photograph as much as I would like. But I also get to photograph as much as I would like when things are going on. So, for example, we had the first kind of major set of monsoons come through the area for the month of July, and I went out to Zion National Park, or on the edge of it, and I photographed an epic rainbow and photographed an epic sunset. But I get to photograph when I want to, when things are working out well. So that's a really nice thing about doing this. Now, let's talk about things that suck about doing this. I do not get to go out and photograph as much as I would like. I have a lot more responsibility at home. I have a few kids, so I have to take care of them. And on top of that, I have to keep running the photography business. And if I don't, like I said, no one gets paid. So I don't get to just willy-nilly run off the way you would imagine you would be able to as a professional landscape photographer. I don't get to go off to Iceland. I don't get to go off to, Colorado or Washington or any of these Western states whenever I feel like it. I can technically make the argument that I could, but I don't because I have other responsibilities. Now, let's start moving on to what you might describe as the income octopus. This is this philosophy that you see in a lot of photography videos and vlogs, and about this idea of being a creator / artist. You have to have a handful of different incomes in order to make it work. So right now, my sales system or my income comes through a couple different forms. First and foremost, print sales. I make roughly $2,000 to $3,000 every single month in print sales, and this is after expenses. But it requires me to get out and go and hustle constantly. I have art shows most weekends, or in some form around every weekend. So my Saturdays are almost always consumed with an art show or the preparation for an art show. That is where a majority of my income comes from. The second part of my income actually comes from teaching at the local university here. I teach photography and occasionally biology at the local university. And so that's where the other chunk of my income comes from when it comes to actually my photography. So right now I'm beginning to prepare for my fall semester. I teach 2 classes there at Utah Tech University, and I will be teaching Introduction to Photography, and I will be teaching Intro to Digital or to Photo Editing for photographers. And so I'll be teaching people how to use Lightroom and Photoshop. So that's the other part of my income, and that makes up the majority of my income. So prints, teaching at the university. In fact, that pretty much makes up all my income. Now, other areas I would like to get into. Workshops. That's something I'd like to do. And part of the reason why I'm getting back and doing the YouTube channels is so people can get to know who I am. One of the things that you come to realize when it comes to running photography workshops and getting out there and trying to make a living using those, part of the way that functions, so the way that generally functions, is that people get to know you as a photographer and they buy into you as the teacher. They don't generally just join a random workshop that they don't know the teacher from and they don't know anything about him, because they want to have some sort of like personal connection, which is honestly totally understand. I'm 100% on board with that philosophy. I don't love dropping $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000 for something I don't know. So that's why I'm doing this again, to get back into that world. I am trying to let you guys know who I am as a photographer, my philosophies, and my teaching styles a little bit. You can't get a ton through YouTube videos, but you can get an idea. So workshops is the next major frontier with St. Andre Photography in collaboration with Nature Photo Collective. Next is going to be digital products. I have a guide to photographing Zion National Park. I wouldn't mind making more of those, and I think those could be really valuable for those who are coming from out of state. I photograph Zion at least once a month. At least. If things get really interesting, 3 to 4 to 5 times a month. I know the park fairly well, and because of that, I feel like I can make a pretty good digital product about photographing it. But that's only one product. Not everyone's driving out to Utah or into this region to photograph Zion National Park. So one of my major next frontiers would be digital products. What? I don't know. If you have any suggestions, leave it in the comments. Now, the next part of that income I wouldn't mind doing, YouTube income. That's going to be those irritating ads. We'll see how that goes. I currently have $0 coming in from that, and so it's a thing. Essentially, I have a 2-income stream photography business at the moment in time. I'm working in number 3 with workshops, and I have a little bit of digital products, and I'll try to see if I can come up with more of those. And so that is my income octopus. Now, let's actually move on to this Nature Photo Collective. Once again, Nature Photo Collective is a website and organization set up by Nick Stover. Nick Stover is a photographer based in California, and he has been building out essentially this online conference that gives 4 presentations every single week for the last couple of years, and they bring in different photographers from around the world, and they essentially educate the public. And you can go and buy into the conference. You can either watch all 4 or you can just buy one. And so that's what the website started off as. In addition, there's also like the Nature Photo Collective education side of things. And so they have, in addition, you can buy things like tutorials and content around trying to make your work better. And so he has been doing that for a little while now and building that out. And so he's on the back burner, kind of been wanting to do photography workshops. And he has one photography workshop set up for December of this year, where he's leading a workshop out in Death Valley. We got conversing about this idea, and I told him I'd be interested in helping run photography workshops and potentially doing something where it would be beneficial for both of us. So he thought about it, came up with this kind of crazy harebrained idea. He was going to let me start running photography workshops through Nature Photo Collective. Mind you, there are other workshops that also run through that, but I'm primarily focusing on overlanding, aka getting out into the wilds using some off-road vehicles. And so right now I have access to one of those Jeeps, a Jeep Wrangler, that is kind of decked out to the nines to go places and do things. And the plan is I'm going to begin setting up these tours, and we're going to begin going out and going places and doing photo workshops. Now, I already actually have a bunch of these tours set up and going. So the first one that's coming up is actually here in just in a few days, and that photo workshop is monsoon chasing in Escalante, Utah. The next workshop that's coming up after that is actually another photography workshop in Escalante. This one actually takes place at the end of October, and this one is a fall photography in the canyons workshop. That one's going to be help run with Michael Rung, and we are teaming up together, and we're going to have a couple awesome cars. We're going to go out, we're going to camp, we're going to go explore the canyons of Escalante, and we're going to go photograph fall colors throughout there. It's one of my favorite places to do fall colors, and I'd really love for you guys to join us. And so that is the plan here this October. Then December is going to be the Death Valley workshop with Nick. Then in February is going to be the next workshop in Death Valley. And so right now that one is just me leading it, but I'm working on getting somebody else to join. And so for that Death Valley workshop, we're actually going to focus on the sand dunes of the park, and we're going to work our way from the top of the park all the way to the bottom of the park, and we're going to hit all the different sand dune complexes along the way. That should be a really fun photographic adventure. After that is Hanksville, so we're going to go out to the Badlands of Utah and Capitol Reef, and we're going to go photograph Hanksville and work our way into Capitol Reef and photograph the temples and the Badlands of that region in the state of Utah, followed by a Photoshop or a photo workshop in Moab, where we're going to do some serious off-roading. Super serious, I don't know, depending if you're really novice to off-roading, this will feel like totally wild. If you do a lot of off-roading, this will feel fairly mundane. But we're going to go out to Moab, and we're going to spend 3-4 days around Moab going out and seeing some of these really, really epic viewpoints that require some four-wheel drive high clearance. And so we're going to go out there and camp and have a blast out there in Moab. So that permit is already going. What we need now is people to join us. And that's so far what we have planned up for this upcoming first half of next year. I would absolutely love for you guys to come and join us there at the Nature Photo Collective. Once again, this will be a really awesome experience. We have Jeeps that are set up for overlanding. They got pop-up rooftop tents. We're going to have grills. We're going to be able to cook out there in the wild, and it should be an overall blast. So, if that's something you're interested in, I'll put a link down in the description below for you to come join our photography workshops, and I hope you do. So with that in mind, I think we're going to end this video here, and I will see you next week as I start getting back and doing these YouTube videos again. Right now, this is going to be pretty rough, but I'll learn. Stick with me. Hopefully you enjoy the St. Andre photography experience as we go out into the wilds and go out and photograph again. I'll do some more of those videos. We'll do more videos about editing. We'll do more videos about just general photography and philosophy. And maybe I'll bring on a couple other people. We can talk about it. We'll go from there. Okay. Thanks, everyone, and I'll talk to you later.